Hey everybody, KMO here, and today I want to talk about dogs. And let me say up front, I love dogs. I think dogs are great. I don't have one right now, but that's only because I live in an apartment and I don't really have the excess resources to properly provide for a dog, and I have a cat who would be very displeased were I to bring a dog into this apartment. But I do love dogs, and I hope to have a dog sometime in the future. That said, there is one meme that people never seem to get tired of circulating, and it is the idea that dogs are too good for humans. And let me just say that your brain is too much of a miracle, too much of a marvel to waste with this drivel. Dogs are not too good for humans. In fact, what's good about dogs mostly comes from their long association with humans. So what do people say when they say that dogs are too good for humans? Well, this is a meme that, as I say, people never get tired of elaborating on. So there's long lists of things, but they all mainly come down, I would say, to a couple of things. One, dogs are loyal, and they are unflinchingly loyal. They are consistently loyal. They don't put any conditions on the love and the attention that they devote to us, and we love that about them. These characteristics of dog behavior, they come from our long co-evolutionary past with dogs. You know, there was a fur breeding operation in Russia in the early part of the 20th century where the breeders bred the most docile of the foxes to one another just to make them easier to manage. And after a few generations, the foxes stopped being wild animals and they started being domesticated animals. Not only did their behavior change, but the fox's upright ears started to flop over like dogs' ears. Their coats took on spotty patterns that were more typical of dogs. Basically, if you breed a wild animal, particularly a canid, to be docile and to be tolerant of the presence of humans, they start to act a lot like dogs. And if you read or, say, watch videos about people who try to raise wolves like dogs and try to bring wolves into their homes and families as if they were dogs, it works okay when they're puppies, but when they grow up, they are not dogs. It doesn't matter if you raise them like you would a dog, they don't behave like dogs. They behave like wolves. They are not nearly as ready to recognize you as the alpha. They are more challenging. They are more aggressive. They are more energetic. Dogs easily adapt themselves to living with humans in ways that wolves do not. Even so, at the beginning of the human-dog partnership, dogs were not nearly as docile. They were not nearly as human-friendly. They did not have the aspects of behavior that we love so much about them now, at least not to the degree that they have them now that there have been thousands of generations which have been selectively bred exactly for those traits that we love about dogs. But still, there's something about humanity and wolves or wild dog kind which made a good enough match at the beginning that we carried on that partnership. And I think it comes down to a couple of things. Mostly, both humans and wolves or wild dogs are very social creatures. We depend on being a part of a close-knit social group for our survival. Thus that Rudyard Kipling bit from the Jungle Book that I read at the beginning. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. Dogs, wolves, but also dogs, are very, very conscious of the fact that they depend for their survival on being a member of our families in good standing. And we like to say that dogs are loving, they're attentive, they're unconditional in their positive regard for us. But another way to say that is, and this one is not so positive, it is not so praiseworthy in a society that prizes equality, but dogs know their place in the hierarchy. They realize they are not in charge, and they are eager to constantly reaffirm their position in the hierarchy. They know their place. One person whose summation of dog virtues I read said that dogs are always apologizing, even when it's not their fault. Dogs have no concept of apology. Dogs do not apologize. Dogs engage in placating behavior. They're not sorry for anything they've done. They only know that we, their superiors in the hierarchy, are angry with them, and they want to demonstrate to us that they recognize that they are in an inferior position. They pose no challenge to our leadership. Thus, we get the head hanging, the tail wagging low, laying over, rolling over, exposing their bellies, doing all these things which are basically just demonstrating they're not challenging us and they are submitting to us, hopefully so that we won't kick the shit out of them, which many people do because people get frustrated and because people, I will grant you, can be evil shits. So again, I say the things that we like about dogs come from the dogs being part of our lives. It is the dog-human association which imbues the dog with the qualities we love about them and which enhances and really brings out and magnifies those aspects of dog behavior. And if you're still not convinced, think about this. If you go online and you look at any of these lists of why dogs are too good for humans, you won't see any street dogs there. You won't see any feral dogs, any stray dogs, any, mother dogs suckling puppies in some third world street somewhere. No, you will see happy, well cared for, well-fed dogs living in secure environments with loving humans. It isn't the neglected dogs. It isn't the big mean dog who's locked up in the backyard with very little human company, no canine company, and who's just barking all the time and always showing aggression. These aren't the dogs that we love so much. These are not the dogs that we say are too good for us. The dogs that we think are too good for us are the ones who bathe in the security and the comfort and the constant reaffirmation of their secure place in the pack by loving humans. It is not feral dogs, it is not street dogs, who actually globally outnumber pet dogs. It is the pet dogs, the ones who are always around humans and who are well treated by humans, that exhibit these behaviors that we think of as being so virtuous. And finally, the very idea that certain behaviors demonstrate that dogs are better than humans is untenable. It is irrational because the very behaviors that we see as being praiseworthy in dogs, we recognize as being praiseworthy because we value those exact same behaviors in humans. Now, I would say that dogs literally are loyal to their family, to their pack. You might say to their owner, their primary human. Dogs realize that their place in the world is defined by their position within their local hierarchy. Their survival is dependent on it. Their whole existence is defined by it. And so they attend to it. That's what they're about. It's not because they're being virtuous. That's just their survival strategy. But it meshes so well with our lifestyles, and we absolutely love them for it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm not saying we shouldn't love dogs, but they're not virtuous. And the other thing that people love so much about dogs is that they're unconditional in their loving. Well, here's the thing. Dogs don't have our brains. Dogs don't have our cognitive capacities. Dogs cannot commit themselves to or even entertain counterfactual statements like, I will not demonstrate affection unless this person does what I want them to do. A dog can't think that, so they certainly can't base their behavior on it. So yeah, dogs don't lie because they can't. Dogs don't withhold love because it just doesn't occur to them to do so. They don't think that they can manipulate us the way we understand that we can manipulate one another. It's not that they're virtuous, it's that they lack our capacity for manipulation and deceit. Which, again, I'm happy to count as a practical virtue, but it doesn't mean that dogs are too good for us. It means that dogs have been enriched by their malleability and their long association and good treatment by human beings. We have been good to dogs, and therefore dogs are good for us. Saying that dogs are too good for humans is not so much praise for dogs as it is a backhanded slap at humanity. That humanity and that humans don't always live up to the virtues that we ourselves value. Not in the way that dogs do in certain cases, or at least the way dogs appear to in certain cases. And the purpose of this video is not to take down dogs, but we all know that lots of dogs engage in lots of bad behavior. Aggressive behavior, violent behavior, destructive behavior. Dogs can be a problem, and we all know it. But we understand that typically the dogs who are problems, the dogs who cause problems, the dogs who are dangerous, are not dogs who have had too much human contact, not dogs who have had too much exposure to humanity. They are the dogs who have had too little attention from human beings, or the wrong kind of attention. All right, that is all I have to say on this topic. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you again quite soon.